Right.
There's some shifting happening that the church is not keeping pace with.
Mm.
And I think we're still stuck in, like, we haven't made peace with Copernicus yet. We're not the center of the universe. All of our theology is very earth-based, human-based, and science has kind of blown the doors on that. And just in the last century, and said, "No, wow, there's actually more galaxies out there, and then there's more galaxies than stars." And like, we're just in a totally different world. And one of the difficulties that I've had as a pastor, I've finally worked my way through this stuff, but one of the difficulties I had was almost like maintaining a small worldview that is supposed to be all encompassing, like a whole metaphysic of how the whole universe works. And if you're to peel back the layers of visible reality, then here's exactly what it's going to look like. You'll see angels and demons and they're battling, and then Jesus is here in golden streets. And like, we've taken all this stuff to a literal place that it's almost built a worldview that's too small for what reality now knows.
Mm.
But we have to keep maintaining that as if that is the whole truth, that is the gospel.
Yeah.
And then pastors have to try and, how do I maintain that little bubble for my congregation and let them know, yeah, I know science says this. Yeah, I know the world is saying this, but we know the truth. Almost conspiracy theory like. And then you're really weird. You don't really have friends because that's really alienating. It's like, oh, you're the pastor. I bet you don't drink. I bet you don't smoke. I bet you don't cuss. I bet you don't, and all these things then. And
Sure.
pastors then become really lonely
Yes.
and isolated in a small world that they're supposed to maintain and keep the illusion going for their congregations. And then that was a big part of, my burnout,
Mm.
decade or so ago. I just said, man, my theology does not match my lived experience, and I can't pretend it does anymore.
Sure.
So that's,
Yeah. So this is a maybe this kind of fits into like the vocational, some of what you were talking about, the vocational disappointment, the internalized expectations of like, you've changed your imagination, some of your convictions has evolved beyond, and you don't know how to be who your evolving self in this context anymore. And that's scary. And the longer, I imagine, the longer you tried to like twist, contort yourself, twist yourself, the more discouraged you felt, or with
and isolated.
isolated, lonely, right? You couldn't be honest about kind of where you were at.